Hello, I'm Jen Uphoff-Gray, Artistic Director of Forward Theater, and I want to welcome you to our 2020 Wisconsin Wrights New Play Festival. We've been committed to Wisconsin Wrights for many years. When COVID-19 caused theaters to shut down in mid-March, one of the first decisions we made as a company was to fully commit to doing Wisconsin Wrights this year by whatever methods would be available to us. Because we do this program for two main reasons: to support Wisconsin playwrights in the development of new work, and to employ a whole bunch of local actors, directors, dramaturgs, and stage managers. Both of these goals are more important than ever in this time of massive hardship for artists. Rehearsing and sharing these play readings online may be far from ideal, but it's still provided these artists with the opportunity to work on these texts, and it's kept them, and you, our audience, safe. Now, even under normal conditions, producing Wisconsin Wrights is a considerable financial investment for us. The funds we'd typically take in ticket sales would make up a portion of the expenses that we incur to employ all these artists. And we've chosen to make these ratings available to all online for free. But if you're able, I hope you'll consider making a modest contribution to help us defray those costs. A donation link can be found in the comments section here on YouTube and on Forward's website. Thank you. I am so proud of how hard our artists and staff have worked to make this festival happen. Each play only had 9 hours of rehearsals, and in that time each team had to work on script and character development and adapt to working from this new format. So what you're about to see is a work in progress, and one that will benefit from your attention and feedback. So at the end of the reading, please stay with us for a live talkback with the playwright and the rest of their team. It's a huge part of the development process, and your participation will be especially valued since we cannot be together in person. I hope to see you then. And finally, I want to thank our Wisconsin Wrights sponsors: First Business Bank, Promega, Steve Brown Apartments, and the Madison Community Foundation. We're so grateful for their support of this program. Now, make yourself comfortable, settle in, and enjoy tonight's reading of The Year Without Summer by Greer Dubois, directed by Jeannie Leap.
The Year Without a Summer by Greer Dubois. Act 1, Scene 1. 1816, a neoclassical sitting room in a villa in the Italian Alps. It is raining heavily and has been for weeks. The light is gray. Nina lies on a sofa and reads. She is 18 physically, but 60 mentally. She has read so much and experienced so little that she believes, although regretfully, that she is incapable of making a mistake, and that anyone else making one must be doing so out of a preference for stupidity. Her aunt, Madame Matilda Dembowski, is doing her accounts. Nina looks up from her book.
The sun is going to explode.
Oh, that's all.
Tomorrow.
It
It was proven by an astronomer in Bologna.
That doesn't sound like a consensus of the astronomical community.
Fine. You asked.
I asked you what was wrong with you.
I said the sun's going to explode. Why do I need more reasons to be gloomy?
Because you've been gloomy for weeks since you got here.
Yes, of course.
Aye. Well, why is it going to explode then?
Sunspots, he says. That's why it's been so cold this summer. That's why livestock are dying. It's just a matter of time. So you can grapple with your impending death like I do.
Or sit in the garden and read books and enjoy it.
I think most hypocrites enjoy life.
Oh, and that's what I am, because I won't torture myself over the news, but instead I just make myself as comfortable as possible.
Dembowski throws down her pen and stands. She has had enough. She strides to Nina and grabs her book.
All right. An essay on the principles of population.
Nina lunges to grab the book back. Dembowski swipes it away and strides to the other side of the room.
And the population increases the number of people before the means of subsistence are increased.
Nina grabs for it again.
Therefore, the poor must be reduced to severe distress. Oh, God.
Nina grabs the book and Dembowski pulls it back.
Epidemics, pestilence, plagues.
Nina finally succeeds in getting it back.
What is this? I thought you were reading Byron or something.
It's my father's. I asked him what would happen if the price of corn went down.
What happens?
If the price goes down, the population will increase exponentially, and we'll all die.
I'll die. All right. Because people are mushrooms, and the more substrate they have, the more they grow.
It's been demonstrated many times that birth rates increase as food.
Send girls to school until they're 25 and then see what happens about that theory.
That wouldn't work.
Besides, if the sun is going to explode tomorrow, then why does overpopulation matter?
We still have to plan for it.
You have to have a second apocalypse on hand in case the first one falls through. When I was your age, I would have been reading a pamphlet on the revolution, a vindication of the rights of women.
Oh yes, the revolution went so well.
Shh.
I am but a child of the turn of the century and did not live through the revolution. I've lived through the 15 years of war after it, so understand my skepticism.
I can't argue with you, Nina. The revolution was a waste. Even France has a king again. Everything's back to the way that it was, except worse. But we can still enjoy life in spite of it, can't we? Nina?
What?
When you first got here, I thought you were just tired. Then I thought that your father was right and you were sick. But after 4 weeks of watching you on that settee do nothing but apocalypsing, I'll admit I don't understand. What is wrong? Please tell me.
I don't know.
Do you want to feel terrible?
No! I really don't know, Aunt. I know you think I'm willfully gloomy. I'm not. I feel like
what?
Like I'm doing some kind of problem in the back of my head, but I don't know what it is.
Well, then, distract yourself while you wait for it. Go into town. Go for a walk.
It's too gray.
You must want to do something. To paint? To dance? What do you want?
I don't want to do anything. I don't have wants. I'm a very boring person.
Well, I don't think that's true at all. Your mother said you were disappointed you didn't get to go to school.
I don't care. I don't want anything. What's the point of wanting anything if the sun is going to explode?
The Count enters. The Count is not quite male and not quite female, what we might call today being non-binary, but in 1816 was broadly called libertinisme, or in this case, aristocratic eccentricity. Fortunately for them, they are so outrageous that no polite society has ever dared confront them about their behavior. They enter directly to the window and begin to open it.
I'm going to jump.
It's 4 feet up.
And it'll have to be head first.
They get a leg out the window.
Well,
what?
Aren't you going to ask for my last words?
What are your last words?
Here lies the Count Pecchio, bored to death.
Let me write that down. Go ahead.
The Count opens the window and gravely pretends to prepare to jump. No one watches, and eventually they give up.
I hate you.
Well, fortunately, you will not have to know me much longer, as we're all gonna die when the sun explodes.
Excellent, something to do.
The Count gets up and goes back to the window.
Oh, by the way,
See? Not everyone thinks we have to ruin our lives because of astronomy.
by the way,
You are both in denial.
by the way,
By the way, what?
there are 2 men standing, by the way.
No, there aren't.
There are.
Nina peeks out the window curiously.
There are. That man is wearing a false mustache.
Well, how inexplicably strange. I suppose we should talk to them and maybe invite them indoors to see what they're doing here.
Dembowski gets up, goes to the window, and shuts it. She crosses back to the desk and writes again.
They're talking. I could probably hear them from the front hallway window.
Excellent idea, Nina. Go listen to everything you can and then report back as soon as possible.
They push Nina out of the room and shut the door. The Count turns back to Dembowski expectantly.
No.
No what?
Whatever it is, no.
I'm so tired of you. I'm only here a week, and we've had no fun, none, for 5 days. I tried.
Please don't try. She needs fresh air and rest and not one of your intrigues.
So her father says.
He's afraid for her mind, my dear. He says she's an hysteric.
Her father is English. A misplaced tea cozy could send him into a fit. I, on the other hand, am Milanese, Viennese, and Parisian. And I think she needs some goddamn theatre.
No, she doesn't. That's not how English girls are raised. They're raised to sit quietly and talk quietly and then go quietly wherever their families decide to marry them off. And whatever we might think of that, I'm not going to upset her family's plans by letting you embroil her in some wild plot thingy.
Is Nina to be married? Does she know? The poor girl. What fate can there be than to marry an Englishman worse than this? Ugh. Maybe she'll elope with one of those men.
Oh, please, don't ruin my peace.
When did you start liking peace so much?
When I didn't have any. You understand?
I'm not talking to you anymore.
Good. I have to do my accounts today. We can play cards later if you'd like.
Adding up those numbers again won't produce a different number.
Sometimes it does, though.
That means you're doing it wrong.
I remember things that I can cut and bits of income that I have.
There are only 3 real ways to get yourself out of this. 1, write him for money. No, I know you can't do that.
I can't contact him. At best, he'd say no. At worst, he'd force me back to Milan, and the terms of our separation were very rigid.
And then 2, work.
Doing what?
Tutor French. Spy on the Austrians and sell their state secrets.
Nobody cares about state secrets now that the war is over. No one wants to hire a separated woman as a governess. Scandal.
Then you only have one option. Seduce a rich gentleman and steal his money.
And that's why you've invited them here.
I didn't invite them here.
Oh,
But since they are here, why not make the most of it?
how do you know they're rich?
Because we've met one of them before at your salons.
Oh, no.
She gets up and looks out the window.
No!
Do you recognize him?
That's only Bale wearing a false mustache.
Quite.
That man is the most tediously romantic person I have ever met. I want him out of my yard.
Matilda, we are languishing. I am bored. You are anxious. Nina is in despair. And just by chance, 2 somewhat eligible bachelors, one of them Nina's age, the other yours, happens to arrive in this godforsaken country town. It would be cruel to not ensnare them in a web of scandal. I remember when we first met. You were the one persuading me to pull pranks.
Well, back then I could afford them. My husband was rich.
He was the ideal husband.
When I only saw him once a year. I'm sorry, my dear. I know that I'm terribly boring this week, but tell me, how am I supposed to live? If I can't work, if I can't own property and have no money of my own, how can I support myself? What's the plan?
You remember Monsieur Bale when he gets drunk?
Oh, I remember.
We'll invite them in for dinner, and then, when he's absolutely gone...
You and I switch dresses. You will dress as me, and you will steal his purse.
Yes!
Do you have any other plans?
That one works every time.
If by works, you mean it ends with you being discovered, him threatening to have you arrested, and then in the end, I have to come rescue you, then yes, darling, it works every time.
It will work! Madam Matilda Dombowski, you will not leave this house until you have enough money to buy it 10 times. I promise.
Nina runs back in.
The mustache man is very nervous. They're talking about Aunt. The other is a soldier of some kind. He looks very annoyed.
Well, pity.
What do you mean?
Your aunt has insisted we send them away. They're trespassing. I'll tell them.
They
Oh,
go to the window.
Aren't you curious about what they're doing here? They said they're traveling.
Travelers? They must be so tired. Poor Nina. She wants to invite them in.
I'm not saying that.
Fine. Invite them in.
Nina exits.
Please, keep this polite and short. Oh, God. Is this just a ploy to wear my clothes again?
Scene 2. By the way, the front of the house. 2 men are standing in the garden, both extremely uncomfortable but in opposite ways. Bale, a Frenchman, is hovering behind a hedge and restlessly fidgeting with his enormous false mustache. He wants to march confidently to the door and knock on it, but he has overthought himself into paralysis. The captain, 20, also a Frenchman, is standing and making no effort to look inconspicuous at all. He is a real 19th century soldier, small, physically imposing, and can march 30 miles a day every day for weeks. He is making every effort to look completely composed, but he does not like this situation, and Bale is getting on his nerves.
All right. Oh, God. They're looking at us.
Yes,
How long have they been doing that?
quarter of an hour.
You could have told me earlier. Now I look like an idiot.
Well,
Ha!
He tries to walk forward again, but loses his courage immediately.
Oh, I was so composed earlier, but now, are you
what?
afraid?
No,
Well, I am. She's going to recognize me.
impossible.
True. Oh, God.
What?
I'm sorry. It's just that I remember the last time I was at her house and she had all these people over and we were standing in a group and talking about Rousseau and everyone, when they were so funny. And then I tried to say something funny too and they all just stopped laughing and looked at me. Then at that very moment, she came over and just looked.
Bale.
Such an idiot.
Bale, this is torture. You are going to hurt yourself, or her, or both of you. I'm going back to the inn.
No, don't leave me.
You'd be happier there.
No, I wouldn't. I'd have to listen to you pick arguments about Bonaparte with poor innocent people. I'm sorry. I'm almost ready.
And after she answers the door, then what will you do? Adjust your mustache at her?
I do have a plan.
And what is it?
I'm going to... Fine, you're right. This is stupid. This mustache is made of horsehair. Ow!
Showing up at a woman's house in disguise is not the way to win her heart. It is the way to terrify her.
I just want to see her, and then maybe I can talk to her, and I'll ask her questions about herself, and she'll ask me questions, and then maybe we'll share our hopes and dreams, and maybe plan a life together, and then when I won her over, I'll reveal who I am.
Go to her salons. Approach her there.
Impossible! Do you know how hard it is to get a hostess' attention at something like that?
As hard as walking over and saying hello?
Yes, exactly.
I don't know anything about these things, but I do think it would be best for all of us if we abandon this plan. Marengo's just a mile from here. We can make it by sunset.
Shh, Marengo. For your military tourism.
I am not a tourist.
Then what are you?
I am a captain in the French army. I have a professional interest in military history and historical interest as well. It's the greatest battle of the 19th century.
Were you a student of history? Is that what you did before the army?
No.
Were you studying law? A seminarian?
No. I think we should go our separate ways.
No, please, the Zell. I want to go with you. I want to be there when you see it, but I just, you're right. When I realized she lived in town, I lost my head. I don't know. I don't want to, well, anyway, you're right. And I'm sorry I called you a tourist. I used to be the same.
When you were in the army?
Yes.
Under Napoleon?
Hard to believe.
Well,
I was worse then, too. That's probably why she doesn't like me.
what do you mean?
Well, that's how I met her. Her husband's a Polish general. Oh, don't.
A general with
Yes.
connections?
General with connections in the French army. God, don't you think about anything except your career?
The captain strides towards the door.
Wait, what are you doing?
I'm going to knock. Now I want to meet her.
No!
I'll be very polite.
He exits. In the meantime, Bale stoops, picks up the mustache, picks the dust out of it, and looking around to make sure no one is watching from the window, gingerly returns it to his face, askew. The captain returns.
Come on.
What?
Oh, they've invited us in for a soiree. Aren't you happy?
Bale doesn't answer. The captain looks at him, then rips the mustache off his face.
Ow!
Let's go.
Bale picks up the bedraggled mustache, which is now in two parts. He puts one of the parts on his top lip. They exit. Scene 3. The villa drawing room. It is dark. It is only late afternoon, but it looks like nighttime. The Count enters in the dark, carrying a single candle. One by one, they begin to light the other candles from it. The candles illumine the room, the furniture, and the paintings on the walls. Soon, the room is full of light. The Count looks at the room and then opens the door. Bale and the captain enter. Nina follows. Dembowski enters last, carrying tea and cups.
Gentlemen, welcome. May I introduce Madame Matilda Dembowski. This is Monsieur...
Monsieur Franken, name, I make it open.
Welcome, monsieur.
Enchanté, madame.
And where are you from? Franken, name make it open.
Originally, Grenoble, and then Paris, but I've been living in Milan.
Oh, have you? How sophisticated. I'm surprised someone of your rank has not met Madame Dembowski. She hosts the largest salons in the city.
No, I don't go out.
Never?
Never. I'm terrible in society.
Aha. And this is Captain Francois de Salle.
You're in the army?
Yes, Madame, the French army. I have heard of your husband spoken very admiringly there.
Ah.
A slight pause. The captain realizes he has made a mistake. The Count steps in.
I'm glad there's someone who thinks highly of that man despite his best efforts. Well, Captain, what do you do in the army?
Nothing impressive.
March hundreds of miles.
Yes, madame, as do all soldiers in the French army, as I'm sure your husband. It's not impressive, that's all.
On the contrary, Captain, where we come from, endurance is a very coveted quality.
Truly pleased to meet you, Captain.
The pleasure is mine, madame.
He starts to bow again, realizes that he already did, and stops.
And this is Madame Dembowski's niece, Nina Radcliffe.
She curtsies.
Well, shall we sit?
They all do. Matilda sits in the center and the Count on her left. Bale tries to sit next to Dembowski on the other side, but he is beaten by the captain. The Count makes a place for Bale, but instead Bale takes the spot on the other side of the captain next to Nina. Everybody is shy.
Would you like something to drink? We have tea or sherry. I'm sorry for our lack of any servants. We are trying to enjoy the simplicity of country life.
Rousseau.
Yes, have you read him?
Oh, yes, at one point. I confess. that's my confession. You know, like the book by Rousseau. Could I possibly have a glass of sherry?
Of course.
They pour Bale some sherry.
Captain?
The same.
Nina?
Nina opens her mouth to answer.
Try some sherry, Nina.
The Count takes the cups and pours Nina a glass. She, too panicked to say no and not knowing what to expect, lets them. Dembowski pours the other drinks. Everyone is silent again.
Well, Monsieur Franken-Namen Makatopin, this is strange, but you don't happen to have a cousin named Bale, do you? A wealthy officer, I think?
No. No.
Strange. I wonder why I associated you with Bale.
It's a common mistake. Also from Grenoble, but no relation. Not even a friend of mine. It's never cared for the man.
Really? Is he unpleasant?
Well, that is to say, he's. I mean, I don't want to be unfair. He's kind of, in some ways difficult, but in other ways he's an extremely likable man. I wouldn't want to sell him short. I may not be the best judge, though before, as I said, we aren't friends. That is true, though. On the other hand,
Of course, you are a courteous man and unwilling to be unfair, Monsieur Franken-Namen Makatopin. I have heard one thing about Bale that is a point in his favor, however.
oh, what's that?
He's very rich.
No, that's just a rumor.
Oh, really?
Yes. His father went bankrupt, so he only had a soldier's salary to live on. A self-made man, I will say that for him.
Well, strange, all this stuff about the sun, isn't it?
Oh, what's that?
Napoleon escaped to the sun and is eating it.
Really?
Oh, yes.
No, monsieur. The sun is unfortunately experiencing disturbances and is likely going to explode tomorrow.
Let's not talk about that just now.
I'm sorry. What?
The sun is going to explode!
Oh, God!
Not now.
It might be. Nobody really knows. It could happen now. Or now. Or
I would like everyone to know that this is not proven and that there is much disagreement among the scientific community at large, and there is very little cause for concern.
Farmers in Colony are starving by the thousands, aren't they?
I didn't know that. We should help them.
A kind offer, madame, from a kind heart.
I agree.
An awkward silence. Dembowski, who has been a semi-professional hostess for a decade, takes charge.
I know what we should do. We should play a game.
Not cards.
Not cards. You'll like it. I think you'll all like it. My brother and I had a tutor, and she called it the Catonic Oratory. Oh, God. But I think we just called it a Celerando. Everybody has to think of a subject that they can speak about as quickly as possible, and then they have to stand up and give us a speech on that subject without pausing for as long as they can.
And what if you pause?
If you pause, the group has the right to begin to heckle you without mercy until you sit back down. I told you you'd like it. Who's first?
I will go.
The subject must be suitable for mixed company.
I can't go.
Monsieur?
Oh, all right. I regret to say that I'm qualified to talk on one topic.
Mustaches.
Love.
Laughter is restrained by some. He prepares himself bravely.
Ready?
All right, monsieur. Begin.
There are four types of
Tea.
no, there are four types of love. First, the purely physical. Second, the passionate love of Petrarch, true love, often unrequited, that drags us into
Other people's villas.
it drags us into things against our better judgment. Third,
Love of feet.
uh, third, love from vanity, the coveting of something desirable to others, a love based primarily on wanting someone else's status. And finally, fourth,
The love of unnecessary classification systems.
the fourth is a gallant love.
More types, monsieur. More types.
Love is a tricky thing to categorize without omitting a category here and there. What about familial love or friendship?
I am confining myself to the types of love between men and women.
Oh.
Romantic love is what I meant. But maybe there are many categories, many different shades of all these things. I know this is just one way to see it, but that's what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is, in love, two things are always at continual war. Our physical and emotional drives, experiences, that is, our reality and our perception. We need love because it gives us something to believe in. It warms our senses in spite of the icy austerity of objective fact. I don't know what I'm saying. I can't do anymore. I can't.
You did well.
Really?
It's just a game, monsieur.
Thank you, madame.
Well.
You have to go next.
Oh, I am only too ready.
They stand.
I will also talk about love since monsieur began on that subject.
All right. Begin.
I once knew a man in Rome who was notorious for haunting the backstage of a certain theater, an opera house, to watch the actors as they left the stage. The man, a Frenchman, I almost forgot to mention, was particularly obsessed with one young singer who went by the stage name La Fiorella. La Fiorella had trained in the art of operatic singing since being a young child and was famous in Rome for singing all of the female leads, the ingenues, the lovers, the virgins, etc., of Mozart and Cimarosa. La Fiorella had a beautiful voice, but not only that, was very beautiful. Well, the man being, as I said, a Frenchman, it was only a matter of time, of course, before he fell in love with La Fiorella and said to himself, "We must be lovers." It was not very difficult. He arrived at the opera, I think it was a performance of Così fan tutti, and crept backstage before the finale holding a bouquet of flowers. La Fiorella exited the thunderous applause after a fifth curtain call, as usual, and fell right into the Frenchman's arms, who said, "La Fiorella, the warmth of my love has melted the icy austerity of the fact that I don't know you at all. Elope with me to Lombardy." And La Fiorella agreed. The Frenchman had secured a carriage for which waited for them outside the theater. He carried La Fiorella into it, gave the driver the orders, and off they drove. Well, needless to say, it was a long drive from Rome to Lombardy, and on their first night, the Frenchman began to search for a way to amuse himself. La Fiorella, who was not inexperienced in these matters, lifted Sarola for the Frenchman. The Frenchman extended his hand and, looking at La Fiorella, said politely, "Excusez-moi, mademoiselle, mais savez-vous que vous avez une pin?" La Fiorella looked at the Frenchman indignantly. "What did you expect? You know I'm a castrato." "No," answered the Frenchman, "I had no idea. But," said La Fiorella, suspecting the Frenchman must be an idiot, "you have seen me in men's clothing on the street." It was true, they'd met many times. "I know," said the Frenchman, "I thought you were in costume. But," said La Fiorella, "my name was even on the marquee. Giuseppe Celli." Well, the Frenchman apologized and went back to Rome, and in recompense paid for La Fiorella to go on a very enjoyable holiday to Milan.
That's absurd. How could anyone be that stupid?
I know, but it's true. I heard it from La Fiorella herself. She even told me the man's name. It was Monsieur Henri Bale.
I will not stand for this!
You did.
How dare you!
Fisticuffs in the drawing room.
Stop it!
Sit down, both of you. There is no violence in this house.
The Count sits. Captain sits Bale down.
Are you all right, monsieur? Did the story offend you?
I'm sorry, monsieur, that I maligned a Frenchman. But as you yourself said, the Bales are a family of terrible bankrupts, aren't they?
Was the story true?
No.
Well, if I had known lying was an option.
You'd have an edge. Are you very accomplished at lying? Frankennamen market upping.
He sits and pours himself another drink.
Let's change subjects. Love is too violent. Something more genteel.
War?
No.
You have hit on your hostess' least favorite subject, Captain.
I apologize. I meant to joke.
I know, Captain. I'm just tired of war after 2 decades of it.
Sadly, the astrologers say it will be a bloody century.
Well, that's easy for the astrologers. All centuries are bloody. What else could we talk about?
I could give a speech about war.
Well, if you're the speaker, Nina, then I'll yield. Let's hear it.
Nina stands. After a moment, she begins.
I had a dream that heat and coldness fought upon a broad green plain. I was afraid and ran into a grove of trees, and there looked out onto the fray. I saw the army of heat, 100,000 strong, stretch out, array of blazing red and golden coats. The troops of coldness marched in narrow rows, their coats the blue of smoke that trickles out from chimneys in the dead of wintertime. The armies paused, and then, with drums like thunder, they charged. And then the stars shrieked, the moon went out. The air drew back like freezing lips of grimacing men, clutching each other's arms, their eyes transfixed, lidless at miseries. The earth seemed to hurry in on itself, and the hills tossed like hayseeds across the shattered earth. And I, a little figure, poor and hidden there, scattered among the wreckage like a sailor lost on the sea, looked out onto the world. I saw 100,000 men laid dead. I saw them lying on the summer field to wait till wind and snow and rainstorms worked to leave of them no record but their bones. So violent was this sight, so desolate. I could no longer look upon the field, but stretched my eyes up to the void above. Vast, lifeless, lightless, silent emptiness, to find some comfort in oblivion.
Bale stands and applauds. Nina sits, red.
Bravo, mademoiselle! Is that your composition?
Yes.
Oh, incroyable! One question. I think the red coats and the blue coats, it's about Napoleon, obviously.
I meant it to be about heat transfer.
Well, maybe war is a transfer of heat in a way, in which case, metaphorically, it could be interpreted to be about Napoleon.
Well, yes. I think a revolution is like a transfer of heat. The greater the change and the shorter the span of time, the higher the likelihood that someone will be burned.
That's good.
At any rate, my point was, it seemed to well represent the chaos of the Napoleonic sacrifice.
Thank you.
I meant it as a compliment to her.
The Napoleonic sacrifice.
I just mean the imagery, the field, the wreckage.
Yes, yes. The wreckage of the war, just like the wreckage of everything. Of the weather, of economics.
Of France since the Revolution, of...
Not about Napoleon. Stop trying to make it about Napoleon.
I understand, madame. I do. I'm sorry.
It is strange that someone would kill millions of people only to end up emperor of one island in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes,
Is all I mean.
Yes, I agree with you. I know it is hard to say that the efforts of the past 20 years were worthwhile in the end, and after what it's come to, after all our hopes.
Even if it had to come to something, that is all I'm saying.
Yes, we agree, I think.
You do. Anyways, it's all over now.
Yes, and now the king has woken up again and stumbled onto his throne, and all the rats of Europe have scurried out of their hiding places and gathered around him like a disease.
You don't approve of the king, then?
Pardon me, but no.
Why not?
I care about the nation of France. The palace is full of clerics.
You're anti-religious?
It's not just the church. It's the aristocracy, too.
Those goddamn aristocrats. Vive la France!
They get up and go to the piano.
I didn't mean to be insulting.
That's irony. Continue what you were saying before.
I don't remember.
Bonaparte. You were talking about Bonaparte.
I just meant 25 years. 10 years of revolution, 15 of Napoleon. Enough blood was spilled to paint the black robes of every French churchman red. And now the world is just...
I don't think you can paint a black robe red. Certainly not with blood. It's a very poor pigment.
The world has changed through all those deaths, and now, all of them, every single dead soldier and citizen and revolutionary, what did they die for? Nothing now.
Make your speech, Captain. You're not going to win this dialogue.
Well, I will make my speech then.
He stands up eagerly.
I will explain the military genius of Napoleon as demonstrated by his greatest battle, Marengo.
Call me at the final charge.
He refills his glass and goes to stand in an opposite corner by the window and looks at the garden.
Well, Austria had just recaptured Milan and the rest of Lombardy from Napoleon.
In his enthusiasm, he unconsciously begins to walk around the room, locating each geographical location near a different piece of furniture. He walks to the center of the room to represent northern Italy.
Now, no one knew what the Austrians would do next. Would they remain in Italy and try to fight Napoleon there? Or would they retreat and leave via the port of Genoa? Or even, would they try to invade the south of France? Now, what most generals would have done here is that they would
Let their aides do all the work.
They would have guessed the most likely course of action for the Austrians and tried to intercept their army before they could do anything else. But there would always be the chance of miscalculation. But Napoleon was not most generals. He knew there was only one way to cover all the possibilities, to re-enter Italy and cut the Austrians off before they had time to make the move.
He strides around behind the couch and hovers, Napoleonically, behind it.
Isn't that exactly what you said most generals would have done?
But Napoleon knew all of this depended on the element of surprise. If he entered Italy in any of the conventional ways,
Around the couch.
Austria would have heard about it and countered. So Napoleon decided to do something no one else had ever done before, to take the Grand Army over the Alps by the St. Bernard Pass like Hannibal in ancient Rome.
He climbs over the couch. The party, except for Dembowski, is entertained by this.
So someone did do it before.
The whole army went over the mountains?
Yes, by a tiny pathway used only by peasants, sometimes even just 2 paces wide. They brought everyone over it, not just infantry, cavalry too.
How did they get the horses through?
Ask him. He was there.
He points at Bale.
The path wasn't 2 paces wide. That's propaganda.
But what was it like?
I don't know. I was cavalry, so it was easy. The pass was pretty clear. We crossed quickly. On the 3rd day, the Austrians shot at us and my horse bit me. What else? The infantrymen hated us because we rode horses while they carried all the heavy guns. They were always trying to steal things from our camps. I remember once I saw a soldier trying to steal a pair of the captain's boots. I shouted at him to stop, told him I'd shoot him. Then he lifted up his foot, and I saw that the soles of his shoes were gone. They were so full of holes. He'd walked up and down the mountains in those. And the Alps were very beautiful, that's all.
So Napoleon reached the valley. He didn't expect Austria to attack, not yet. But when Austria had a different idea, it was a rainy, cold morning, and the French camps were sleeping when they saw 30,000 troops
And
marching.
then they fight for 8 hours, and then Napoleon loses, and General Desaix comes and charges right into the center of the troops and dies with a lot of other men. But that doesn't matter, because that wins the day, and they cut all the Austrians down, and that's it. Wonderful speech. Thank you very much.
So you know the story.
No, I just know that every victory Napoleon ever won happened the same way. An abysmal strategy followed by the completely needless sacrificing of a bunch of men who would have lived under a more capable commander with less fawning officers. And at last the French army holding on beyond the point of sanity until finally the stronger opposite side was forced to simply give in out of pity and exhaustion. Bravo, France!
We begin to hear Soft sounds of rain and thunder outside.
If you think France is some kind of joke, then I don't belong here.
You think France is a joke if that's the story that you have, that story is the best that you have to offer her.
Napoleon fought for the French nation and for French ideals. I care about those ideals, which is why I tell the story.
Bullshit. All of you young soldiers are saying this now. You claim that all you care about is France, the glory of France. But the minute you leave the army, you join the civil service to serve the French government, far more usefully, I might add, and you act like you've been buried alive. You don't care about France. What you actually want is something that in the Ancien Regime you'd get from the church. It's that feeling that your life is some part of grand narrative design. You don't really care if it is, of course. You just want to feel like it is. Which is why all of you young soldiers are always having parades and visiting monuments and telling stories about Bonaparte when you're surrounded by interesting people who are trying to talk to you like human beings instead of walking manifestos.
I just mean...
There is a clap of thunder and a flash of lightning. Everyone jumps. There is a knock on the door. The Count gets it. At the door is a very intense-looking composer, Amadeus.
Good evening.
Oh dear.
Who is this?
This is my friend, the Austrian court composer, Amadeus.
Amadeus Mozart?
No. The Count calls me a friend, but it is not true. We are, in fact, the greatest foes. But I'm not only here on personal matters. I'm here on business.
He takes out a letter.
You deliver this?
He hands it to Madame Dembowski.
This.
He hands the letter to Nina. Dembowski doesn't open hers. Nina takes her letter to the background and reads.
Why are you delivering letters?
It was convenient. I just came from General Dembowski's house and I'm on my way to Vienna. He gave me information and in return I told him I would deliver them. I was looking for you. You've done me a great wrong and I am here to make you answer for it.
Answer for it? How?
With this.
Put that down. There are no guns in my house.
With the greatest respect, madame, I will surrender it only if it is promised to me that I will get what I came for. A duel with this person.
What is this about?
It's a simple mistake, a confusion.
Nothing of the kind. It was the greatest deception that has ever been visited on anyone, living or dead. I do not wish to tell the specifics as they are very shameful. Suffice it to say, I'd met this person at the opera in Rome. I'd been led to believe by their clothing and carriage that they were one kind of person. I placed my trust in them completely, and I'd even made promises to them based on their effect. However, as we were riding across the country together...
You weren't going to Lombardy by any chance? In a carriage?
Yes, in fact. How did you know that, sir?
I don't know.
At that point, it was revealed to me that this person was not what I had been led to believe. I stopped the carriage and demanded they get out at once and fight me, but they stole my carriage and rode it to Milan. I have been searching for them.
Nina folds up her letter and leaves the room.
I understand your anger, sir, but I must repeat, there are no guns in my house. If you do not surrender that weapon to me now, I will ask these men to throw you out.
Will I get what I came for?
Yes, you will.
Amadeus gives the pistol to Dembowski. She goes to the door and makes a silent face to the Count. She leaves.
My friend, I mean, my foe. Must we kill each other? There must be some more effective way to solve this. I could pay you.
That won't restore my honor.
Well, it's a shame. Whether I kill you or you kill me, either way, Europe loses one of its two greatest musicians.
You're a musician.
Oh, of course. Didn't you know? I was the court composer of Bohemia for 2 years.
Play something.
Of course. But let's make it better than that. Let's make it a duel of music.
Sound effect.
What do you mean, a duel of music?
Sound effect.
You play a theme on the piano, anything at all, then you improvise over it. Then I'll do the same. We'll see who can do a better job. Europe's greatest living composer, or you.
Absurd. Fine.
Sitting at the piano.
Any theme I want?
Any.
Amadeus begins to play. The Count sneaks out immediately. Amadeus's piece is simple, then he improvises over it with greater and greater skill. He begins to get very emotional. After a while, the Count returns, but dressed as Dembowski, with an enormous fan hiding their face. Bale stands up and dances with Dembowski. At last, Amadeus finishes. Everyone applauds. Amadeus bows, then looks around and realizes what has happened.
Where have they gone? There.
Bale points at the door. Amadeus storms out. Dembowski touches Bale on the arm. Bale, aesthetically, emotionally, and alcoholically overwhelmed, kisses Madame Dembowski on the hand.
Madame, I swore that if I came to your villa tonight, I would keep quiet. I would maintain the polite conventions of society that I find so odious. But I can't do it anymore. I must tell you something. I am not who you think I am. I am not Monsieur Frankennamen Make-it-Uppin. No.
He rips the mustache off and flings it at their feet.
Ah! I am Henri Bale, the writer who was present at many of your salons last night, but lacked the courage to say what I'm about to say. The truth is, Madame, I've burned with passion for you since first I heard you speak, and I can't stop thinking about you, have not stopped thinking about you daily for the year. I know I am unworthy. I know I have betrayed you by appearing here like this, but I beg you, answer me. Is there any hope? Can you share anything of what I feel? Please, answer me.
Bale grabs the fan to reveal the Count.
I know, Monsieur Bale. We all know.
Oh, where is she?
Nowhere, Bale, except in here.
They exit.
Well, Monsieur Frankenbeans, how's the austerity of objective fact?
This is all your fault.
He tries to push the captain and only succeeds in throwing himself off balance.
My fault for your stupidity.
No, for offending our hostess. I could have had a chance.
Oh, it's not my fault. How was I supposed to know she was such a reactionary?
He tries
You-
to push him again.
Idiot. Her brother died there.
Fighting for Austria?
No, for your fucking Bonaparte. Matilda!
The captain stands, surprised. The door opens. It is Madame Dembowski, back in her original clothes again, but with the fan covering her face. This double bluffs the captain into thinking it's the Count. The captain grabs her by the arm.
Excuse me, Monsieur Count, I'm sorry. I have to ask you something. I think I have committed the stupidest error tonight. I didn't know that our hostess's own experience with the wars. I didn't know she lost her brother in the battle to which I narrated so trivially. I can only say that if I were a person of better birth, but I beg you, tell me how I can make amends with her. I'll do anything. Is there nothing I can do? I see. I understand that I am asking too much. I won't trouble you anymore.
The captain presses her hand and exits. Dembowski lowers the mask. The Count comes back in, dressed like himself.
Did you get rid of him?
Which one?
Amadeus.
I snuck up on him in the stairs. I hit him on the head with a poker.
You what?
He's fine. I'll put him in his carriage. I said he was drunk. His driver's taking him to Vienna. Now, on to bail.
The Count exits. Dembowski takes out her letter. She reads and sinks onto the sofa. Her face drops. There is a long moment. Nina enters.
Aunt,
Where did you go?
I have something to tell you.
I didn't know where you went. You left so suddenly and I didn't know why. I thought something was wrong.
I'm sorry. I went to think. The letter was from my father. He wants me to go back to England. Now.
That's sudden, but maybe that's the best thing.
It's not just that. He's marrying me off when I get back. Did you know?
I know that it's sudden, Nina.
Why didn't you tell me?
Things that sound unbearable, you can make the best of them.
No! I don't want to go back to England. You asked me what I wanted earlier. I said I didn't know. Now I do know. I don't want to go back there. I don't want to marry some man I don't know. I want to stay here.
To do what?
To talk to people. To recite my poems. To have people who understand me.
Like Monsieur Bale? Now, you are extremely young.
I am 18.
Yes. You think you know what you want.
I thought you would help me.
Go back to England. One day, maybe you'll be old and rich and free and spend your time having salons and reading sonnets, but that's not now.
You don't understand. You don't know what it's like to feel your mind buried alive, stuck under the weight of 10,000 pounds of stone.
Ha! Do I not? I'm sorry, Nina, but what did you think was going to happen? You'll run around Europe and stumble on some kind of way to maintain yourself in society? No, you won't. You'll have no way to live. Do you understand? And even if you managed to do it, what would you be left with at the end of it? No family, no children, no property, no ability to take care of yourself or anyone else. You'd have nothing. Go home, Nina. Your father just wants what's best for you.
I thought you would help me.
You have no choice, my dear. And I am sorry to be the first person to tell you that.
But we do. If you would only help me, I could stay here and I could help you too. Oh, we could support each other.
No, we could not.
I hate you. And I don't want to talk to you ever again.
Nina exits. The Count comes in their own clothes.
Did Bale come this way? What is it?
Going back to Milan.
Oh, he withdrew the separation.
Yes. He's ordered me back. I'm going to bed.
She exits. The Count falls on a chair. A moment later, Bale comes in by the other entrance.
Madame Dembowski? Where is she?
There.
I just wanted to talk to her. I just wanted to. God, I'm drunk.
Yes, you are very drunk, Monsieur Bale. I feel like I owe you something after deceiving you. Would you like me to go get Madame Dembowski?
Would you do that?
Yes. Then you can say whatever you need to say.
I would be grateful to you forever.
Wait just a minute.
The Count leaves. Bale waits, head in hands. Then the door opens. Peeking over the side of the door is apparently a woman's head, flirtatiously looking over a fan.
Madame Dembowski.
It is the Count again. End of Act 1. Act 2. The next day, a gray morning. The drawing room. There are 2 doors leading in and out of it, both of which lead downstairs into the outside. There is a large trunk by one of the windows, half covered by the window curtain. The window is open. The Count is reading on a couch. Nina enters with a purpose.
Where's my aunt?
She's in one of her melancholies.
What is that?
She throws herself on furniture, whispering Italian poetry, and then falls asleep. What is it?
I have to talk to her.
You left the party very suddenly.
I'm sorry.
That letter, was it from your family? Are they all right?
Oh, they're fine. They're always fine.
Worried about you?
No, they're worried about their investment. They've spent money on me and they want to make sure I come back to them in one piece.
I'm sure that's not all.
Oh, it is. My father's English. He only cares about one thing, whether the market is going up or down. 6 months ago, the market was going up, so he was going to let me go to school. Then the market started going down, so I couldn't do that. Then the market started going up again, so he decided I could take a trip to recover from my hysteria. But now the market is going down. So I'm supposed to go back, take care of his house, and marry some boring rich man he's found for me. Ugh.
He stands and paces.
Oh, how cruel.
I'm so sick of England. I'm sick of how everyone is bigoted and unoriginal and nobody can dance. I'm sick of everyone constantly worrying about money because everyone is either too much of it or too little. I'm sick of the way nobody is kind, just guilty. And nobody's empathetic, they just want to seem like it. And when something really needs to change or people really need help, some old man in parliament says it's impossible. And I'm sick of the gray weather, and I'm sick of being stuck indoors.
She climbs up on
And
the couch.
I'm sick of the end of the world.
Yes, come down.
Never.
Shh.
I won't go back.
No, yes, no. You won't go back. You won't go back to England. Now, come down.
Nina comes down.
You want to stay in Italy?
Yes,
Then stay in Italy.
I can't. My aunt won't help me.
Did you ask her?
Of course. And she said I should be practical and go home, and maybe I'd begin to really live when I was 50.
Nina, are you serious about this? You don't want to go back?
I don't, I'm sure.
And you're willing to disappoint your family and disobey their wishes and do anything else necessary to do so?
Yes. What choice do I have? I can't go live that life.
Then here's what we'll do. I'll talk to Matilda. You wait behind that door and listen. I'll change her mind for you.
And if you can't?
Well then, I don't know, we'll improvise. Are you too afraid?
No, I'll do it.
Footsteps.
She's coming. Behind the door.
Nina exits by the first door. At that moment, Dembowski enters by the other, the second door, a bit dramatically. She is moping. The Count watches.
Well?
Well, what?
What's wrong?
What am I doing here?
Moping.
No, here. This country, this earth, this life, any of it.
Uh-huh.
I shouldn't bother you.
Matilda.
Should I go back to him?
Why do you say that now?
I feel like I'm fooling myself.
Fooling yourself how?
I can't support myself. How would I support myself?
Work! I've told you before.
It's not enough.
Then write to your husband. You know you could endanger his career if you told all his friends everything he did, everything you know about his business. He owes you much more than he has given to you.
He's going to drag me back to Milan, and then I will be the one in danger, not him.
Well, he can't drag you back if you're in France.
What are you talking about?
I have a plan.
Oh, God.
You can't go back to Milan. I don't need to. And Nina told me she doesn't want to go back to England.
Oh, she's going back whether she likes it or not.
So, the three of us will disguise ourselves in men's clothing and we'll cross the Alps.
No. No, no, no! No more plans! So you always have to be so childish.
Is it childish to want to have a choice over your own life?
You always want me to be like you. I know what you did. You defied your family, and now you go running around the edges of society, creating havoc, and I love you for it. But...
And I did all of that because of you. Do you remember what I was like before we met? I was a mouse. Everyone stepped on me. My entire life was planned out. And if I hadn't met you, I would now be greedy, dull, conservative, and the horrible patriarch my father always wanted me to be.
That's ridiculous.
It's true. My father sat me down and showed me everything I was to inherit, my estates, my lands, my income, and then he showed me his accounts and all of the aunts, cousins, and servants that I was supporting with every cent of my money, and he told me how criminal it would be if I would be giving any of it away. And then he explained to me that I had to make more by becoming a politician who starts wars with France, or a diplomat who signs treaties to steal land, and in the end I'd have to marry some smear-faced Habsburg scion for politics, and that was it. It was inevitable.
Nothing is inevitable.
Exactly. You taught me that. And when I finally understood it was not nature, but the nobility that makes people live that way, and when I realized that I had a choice to leave it, I left. And I've never regretted it. Not even when he disowned me, not even when I lost everything.
I don't know. I just don't know. If there was some way to make a living that I found tolerable, I wish I could believe in your plans.
The Count goes to the window.
Both of those men were a complete waste of time, by the way.
They are.
We knew Bale was bad, but that captain was worse. God, what an awful little.
Actually, I meant...
Smug, inconsistent Bonapartiste.
They were standing by the way just now.
Wait, what? Wait.
There is a knock at the second door.
They must have let themselves in.
The Count goes to the door and opens it just a little.
I beg you.
The Count closes it very quickly.
Is the captain there?
Yes.
No, get him. I have to get out.
Going to the first door.
Don't go out that way, they'll see you. You could hide in the trunk.
Oh, just send them away.
I'll try.
They open the door.
I'm sorry, but we are
I
previously...
just need one moment.
The Count tries to push Bale out, but Bale puts his foot in the door and the two struggle. The Count mouths "trunk" to Demowski, who rushes at the trunk and dives inside. The Count opens the door for Bale and the captain, who fall through the door.
Gentlemen, how good to see you.
Where is she?
We're the only ones here this afternoon. I should have said Madame is out.
I heard her voice.
Oh, I was talking to her in the garden, but now she's just left for a walk and she walks very fast. Please, sit down.
They don't. Bale looks suspiciously around the room. The Count casually walks to the trunk and sits on it.
I need to tell her something.
As do I.
I have to apologize to her.
As do I.
So that is why you both came over here today. I see. I am completely surprised. I had assumed this was an utterly disinterested social occasion. Well, here's what I propose. Captain, you go out into the garden and wait for Madame there. Say to her what you need to say.
That's what you think is best.
He bows and exits.
Bale, what do you want?
I have to apologize to Madame Dembowski.
Yes, but what are you hoping to get out of it?
I want to say I'm sorry for my terrible behavior.
No, Henri. You've cornered her in the Alps, knowing completely well that she wasn't interested. After spending 6 weeks hovering around her house in Milan like a moth by a candle. What are you hoping for?
Well, that is all very gauche.
Tell me the truth.
Please just let me see her again and speak to her, and I know it's ridiculous, but my God, if I don't say something and apologize, I'll never be able to show my face in respectable society again. Oh my God, it's worse than that time I told that joke about Rousseau.
I'll help you, Monsieur Bale.
Really?
Yes. Go back to the garden. I'll find her and get her for you.
But...
Quickly, she walks fast.
Bale exits by the second door. Dembowski slams open the trunk and gets out.
Get rid of them!
Just hear Bale's apology and tell him you're not interested in him. I'm sure he'll go.
You're right. You deal with the captain and I'll go speak to him.
What should I say?
I forgive him, his apology's accepted, whatever he needs to hear so that he'll leave.
They both exit by the second door. Nina runs into the room. Footsteps. She goes back out the second door. After a pause, Bale re-enters by the first door.
Is she...
He looks around, crushed. Suddenly inspired, he rushes to the trunk and opens it with an
Aha!
Crushed again. The voice of the Count can be heard from the stairs.
Send Monsieur Bale into the garden.
Bale, desperate, jumps into the trunk and shuts it. The captain enters via the first door, followed by the Count.
I have to speak with her.
I've told you. She left.
I know she's here. I saw you through the window. I need to speak with her.
Dembowski bursts back in through the first door.
He's not, God damn it.
I was right.
Fine. I told you what she'll say.
They exit.
Well, Captain, what is it?
He stands there, uncomfortable.
I have come to apologize.
I see.
Didn't know that your brother had been killed in the battle that I was talking about yesterday. I regret any pain I caused you.
Captain, I wasn't offended because you talked about the Battle of Marengo. I would have felt just as strongly had you talked about any battle. You understand?
I understand that maybe it's difficult to hear about the wars, given your personal associations with them.
No, you aren't understanding me. I'm offended by your ideas, Captain, because I think your ideas are irrational, arbitrary, inhumane, and dangerous. And they make me mad. And they will always make me mad, no matter who it is who is talking about them, whether it's you, Napoleon, or my own mother.
There is a small noise from the trunk. Dembowski looks at it.
I see.
Well,
I'm not sure how to reply.
then let me ask you a question. Why weren't you sorry before you knew it was my brother, before you knew my brother was a soldier?
Well, I didn't know that he
And
was.
if my brother had fought for the Austrian army, then what? Would you feel less sorry for me?
I would feel equally sorry because I would realize you were personally related to the conflict I was talking about.
And what if I weren't personally involved?
Then I would be suspicious of you because I would guess that you were more motivated more by ideology than by genuine feeling. And I would be suspicious that you had no real authority on the subject.
Another tiny noise from the trunk. Dembowski goes to it.
Then let me tell you, Captain, I am absolutely, entirely, and solely ideologically motivated regarding my detestation of your story. My grief is private and has nothing to do with it whatsoever. It's all political.
She tries to open the trunk. It's stuck.
Well, then, fine. Have it your way. I repeat what I said yesterday. If you're a French monarchist or an Austrian sympathizer, I doubt I'm welcome here, and I will leave.
But are you still sorry?
What?
Are you still sorry for upsetting me by talking about the battle?
Yes?
She tries to open the trunk again, this time more forcefully. It opens a bit and then shuts itself. She looks at it suspiciously.
Where is Monsieur Bale?
I don't know.
Did he come back in?
Thought so.
Poor Monsieur Bale. He has probably realized that I am not interested in him and wish he would please stop trying to talk to me about it.
I see. Should I get him for you?
No. He's probably left, as one would do if one had any tact and realized a lady was trying to avoid him. No, let's talk about Bonaparte.
The trunk opens a bit. Dembowski sits on it.
What about him?
Explain to me why you believe in him.
Because he was the best person to protect the French nation.
And what is the French nation?
Ah, national theory. Well, let me explain.
Bale makes a wild attempt to get out of the trunk. Dembowski holds it shut.
In a world where many people have power, and that power is sometimes violent, people must come together to protect themselves. It is necessary. I'm not done. In such a situation, the question then becomes, into what types of groups should people organize themselves? The most natural structures are families.
Ha!
How am I supposed to tell you what I think if you keep interrupting me?
Fine. But anyone who tells me that families are a natural unit of social organization has never met mine.
Well, you never met mine either.
I imagine it was very happy.
Not at all. Please, let me finish my point.
Right. Speak.
After families come towns, and these towns make up larger natural structures, and these larger structures share language and experiences. These are nations. Don't you try. These nations are the largest units where people can agree about how to govern themselves. But the smallest units are still able to protect themselves. get any larger, and the nation becomes an empire, which tyrannizes over people. Well, of course, Napoleon was an emperor, but that was with the goal of freeing all the other nations. Questions?
Dembowski clicks the clasp on the trunk closed and gets up.
So many. First, what makes you think people from the same nation can agree with each other?
It might be difficult, but it's easier than in an empire.
Second, where do you see people separating themselves neatly into boundaries? People mingle, they intermarry, they belong to two nations. Isn't there something violent and more tyrannical than an empire in suggesting that you forcibly separate them?
You're making my ideas into their worst version.
Well, no, I'm sorry, no, I'm not. What better version of your ideas can there be? Why do we even need nations? If violence didn't exist, then no one would need armies to protect themselves.
There is always violence, and there must always be power to control it.
But why? Don't sigh at me. To be frank, Captain, the problem of violence is not so theoretical to me. And anyone who treats it that way irritates me immensely.
I'm a soldier. It's not theoretical to me either.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The War of 1816 must have been so terrible.
And what violence have you experienced? The cruel words of society.
You haven't met my husband, Captain.
And you haven't met my father and brothers.
Did they
beat me? Many people are violent, madame. Maybe most. Is that why you're separated from him?
Yes.
The problem of violence is not so theoretical for either of us. I'm sorry. I don't believe in unnecessary violence. I don't, but how else can the world prevent the unjust use of violence against some without the violence of others?
People die because there aren't enough armies, are killed because there aren't enough guns, etc.
Napoleon wanted to free the people from tyranny.
I know what he claims. I supported Napoleon once too.
Really?
My brother was Jacobin, so was I. We wanted more than anything for the revolution to spread to Milan and free us. And when we heard Napoleon was coming,
He joined.
I encouraged him.
Hmm.
I'll never forgive myself. You see why I'm so burned out on the revolution and its believers.
I do. When I was a child, I was educated by priests. I wasn't allowed to read revolutionary books, but I snuck them in around the men who taught me. They wanted me to believe the sun revolved around the earth. They wanted me to believe men and women shouldn't get divorced and that love is sinful and the kings and queens are the natural rulers of everyone else. Those books were the first places I ever heard anything different. And that was why, when Napoleon escaped Elba, I tried to join him and follow him to Waterloo.
I'm so tired of those ideas.
Just mean they changed my life.
They're just games for rich men.
I wasn't born rich.
You're an officer. Someone bought you your commission.
No, I started as a private. When I'd made enough money, I bought my commission myself.
That is extremely difficult to do.
I know it is. If I'd been under Napoleon, I'd be a general by now. You understand? He'd advance people no matter what their rank. You could start as a private and become his second in command if you were worth it. But all that's over now.
I see why you like Napoleon. There was no politician in the world who cared about you before him. Where were you educated?
Seminary.
Oh no, you were supposed to be a priest.
Why do you think I hate the church? My father wanted it. Okay.
So you were in seminary. What gave you the idea to join the army?
I read a book about it. What?
Books. You got the idea from books.
So?
I thought you were one of those soldier types who like riding horses and fighting.
I am.
No, you're not, Francois. You read books. You get ideas, and then, worst of all, you make life-changing decisions based on those books. You're the worst thing of all to be, an intellectual. Oh my God. I used to be just as bad. If I had known you were an intellectual, you would have had my sympathies immediately.
But did I anyway?
What?
Did I have your sympathies anyway?
Oh, I suppose. So you read stories about Napoleon as a boy, and then you grew up and decided to join the army.
Yes.
And then the exact minute you joined, he was captured and sent to an island.
Yes.
Oh, Captain, quit.
But then what would I do about everything that's going on in the world?
Better to do nothing than kill people, Captain, even in a good cause.
I have to do something, Madame. I can't sit by. Look at the continent. Millions of starving people. How else can the status quo be changed except through fighting? I know it's wrong, but I don't know what else to do. I mean, what will you do?
What do you mean?
How will you change the world?
Oh, God. I have no idea.
I don't believe you.
Fine. I mean, if I could, I would do everything. I would publish pamphlets. I would give away money and supplies to revolutionaries. I would host salons for people to tell politicians everything they should do differently. I would, doesn't matter. I have no money, and without my husband, he would let me do it anyway.
Are you sure about that?
You don't know him.
I know, but it seems like you've managed to do so much in spite of him.
During the war, of course, but now. No, that's not entirely true. I do have some power over him, but I don't know.
Are you afraid? I understand.
I wish there was some way that violence could be taken out of the world, Captain. That's all.
Yes. I do too.
They are very close. He notices it.
Is it too forward to say that you
Oh, don't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You aren't.
Yes, I am. What?
I'm picturing you as a priest.
Oh, I wouldn't have made a good priest.
No,
She puts her hand on his.
you really, really wouldn't.
He leans towards her. The Count bursts through the door and skids in.
You're still here. I'm just collecting my trunk.
The captain was just going.
Was I?
Wonderful.
They try to pick up the trunk and then fall over. It is much heavier than expected.
It's so good to meet you.
They try again and fall over again.
If you're leaving, I'll get Nina to say goodbye.
No need. We already exchanged goodbyes.
Then let me get her.
No.
She's still in this house, isn't she? Because if you dared sneak her out against my express wishes, I will be very, very angry.
A pause. The Count lets go of the trunk, and they bolt out the second door.
I'm sorry. I have to go find my niece.
Well, I'll help you.
Thank you.
They both run out the second door. The Count comes back in via the first door. There is a noise from the trunk. They unclasp it, and Bale bursts out.
What are you doing, Monsieur Bale?
You trapped me in there.
He crawls out of the trunk.
Lucky you. Did Nina come this way? Monsieur Bale.
Bale is lying on the ground.
I understand now. She hates me.
There.
No one
There.
will ever love me, and my life has no meaning, and I'm dying.
There are other women.
I know. I've been in love with so many.
Maybe it's time to try something new.
Like, what?
Friendship?
Touché.
It's a good thing. Be her friend, Monsieur Bale. She has very few of those.
They run out the second door. The sound of footsteps behind the first door. Bale opens it. It is Nina.
Oh,
Oh, Monsieur Bale, please help me. My aunt is looking for me. Hide me.
I can't do that.
Why?
Oh, well,
She
Please,
throws
Monsieur
herself at
Bale.
his feet.
You don't understand. She's being horrible to me, and I'm gonna die if you don't help me, please.
She grabs his legs.
Mademoiselle, I would like to help you, but your aunt, she's my friend.
She is not. She's very rude to you, and she hates you.
Oh, I know.
Please, Monsieur Bale, if I go back to England, I'm gonna be married to a man I don't love,
Oh,
and my aunt won't let me stay here.
she wouldn't do that.
She would.
I'll speak with her for you.
She lets go of his legs in despair.
That wouldn't work. You're blind to her terrible personality since you're in love with her. Why are you in love with her?
I don't know. When I came back from the war,
Why are you always talking about the war?
I don't remember. I don't remember the war at all. I came back from Russia, and no one had. I can't remember how I survived. Isn't that strange? I must have stolen food. When I came back, I didn't know what to do, so I went to Milan, and I went to a party. The first party I'd been to in, I don't know, 2 years, and I met your aunt, and that night I dreamed You know, life is very long, my dear, and nothing happens in it. And sometimes that leads one to interpret emotions more dramatically than they actually might be, I think.
Can I ask you a question, Monsieur Bale? Did my poem remind you of the war?
Yes. Very much so. It reminded me of the first time I saw a real battlefield. What did you intend it to be about?
Economics and heat transfer?
Ah,
But what I mean by that is, it seems like everything is headed towards some huge catastrophe. Everyone is so afraid. Me, my family, my father. He's so afraid of another war coming or a recession and us not having enough money. That's why he's marrying me off.
no. No, you need to have your life. You're brilliant, you're beautiful, you deserve it. You deserve everything the world can give you. You can't give up. You can't just I don't know. Then marry me.
What?
No, you don't need to live with me. You can do whatever you want. But don't go back there. Don't give up your life.
Footsteps.
What?
Get in the trunk.
He stands in front of the trunk, hiding it from view with the window curtain. We hear the trunk open and shut. The captain enters, looking for Nina. He seems happy for the first time in his life. He notices Bale.
Where have you been?
In here the whole time.
You know, you should get out of the house. It is beautiful outside.
It's raining.
Oh, gorgeous, isn't it? The Alps are incredible.
When are we going to Marengo?
I think I want to stay.
Of course you do.
The captain notices the trunk and walks towards it.
What are you doing?
I just want to check if something's...
Don't touch it.
Bale, Matilda asked me to find...
Stay away from the trunk.
He pushes him away, surprisingly forcefully.
Oh, so you want to fight? Well, she's not interested in you.
I know. I don't care about her.
Then why did you push me?
No, I
Tries to get back to the trunk.
just want you to stay away.
You stay away from her.
This fight is completely pointless.
Isn't it?
The count enters.
Say.
Fisticuffs in the drawing room.
Bale gets out of the
Très
captain's grip.
Très innocent. Who's in the wrong? Tell me everything.
Bale believes that when a man develops an obsession with a woman who doesn't love him, she is now his property.
I do not. I don't care about her at all. You just think I am because you're suddenly so interested in her.
The count exits.
I am not.
Oh, yes, you are.
I just wanted to.
He attempts to get to the trunk.
No.
He tries to hold him back. The captain punches Bale, who falls.
Why?
The count re-enters with Madame Dembowski.
It's a homo.
The men see Dembowski and react. Bale slinks away. The captain moves towards her.
Both of you, stop.
He's refusing to let me open the trunk.
No violence. Monsieur Bale,
Madame,
I am so sorry. The Count told me you had something to say.
only to thank you for the wonderful time. I'll be leaving shortly for Paris.
What a tragedy. I'll miss you both.
Well, I'm not leaving, madame.
Oh?
Monsieur Bale, could you give us a moment alone?
No, not under any circumstance.
He sits on the trunk.
Fine then. I don't care if you hear. Madame Dembowski, until today, I have never thought there were any reason for a person to live instead of die for his country. But now, I think differently. I will not abuse the word of love, but I feel connected with you, with my whole heart. Please, could you be with me?
Oh my God, not you too.
Don't you feel this too?
Oh, we are leaving this horrible place at once. Nina! Where's Nina?
Bale is still sitting on the trunk.
Henri?
Meld.
Open it.
Can I just say that I am deeply, deeply opposed to this decision?
Open it.
The captain pushes Bale aside and flings open the trunk. It is empty. Bale is in shock.
I don't understand. She was just here.
What have you done with her?
Suddenly, there is a noise outside from the window, the voices of soldiers. The door bangs open. It is Amadeus, head bandaged.
They should lock those doors.
Count Pecchio, I'm arresting you in the name of the city of Milan. There are a dozen soldiers waiting for you outside. Surrender at once.
Oh, let me just go get my things.
Never.
Oh, it's so small.
Monsieur Amadeus, leave this house immediately and take your soldiers with you.
No, Madame Dembowski. With all respect, this person has been aggravating the authorities of Milan for a long time. They are wanted for charges of theft, battery, adultery, sodomy, impersonation of an actress, impersonation of a priest, witchcraft, public nudity, and worst of all, unnecessary cleverness. They are going to be hanged.
Damn my unnecessary cleverness.
There has to be some other way to settle this. What do you want? A job?
The law can't be bought so lightly.
Court connections?
I have all of that.
Then what? What price?
Well, 20,000 livres.
You scoundrel!
The Count lunges and grabs Amadeus's pistol. They point it at Amadeus and fire. It makes a little pop noise. Maybe a flag flies out.
Typical.
Come outside, Count. Unless you have the money. I thought so.
I could pay.
What do you mean?
You said it before. I can threaten my husband. He'll either have to buy me off or grant me a divorce, and he won't grant me a divorce. Amadeus, my husband, will pay the Count's fee.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Don't do that.
Don't what? I'll pay it.
Well, then I accept. I'll call them off. I really must be going. Oh, I almost forgot. Another letter for you from the general's house. Good day.
Dembowski takes the letter. Amadeus exits.
You shouldn't have done that.
Yes, I should. I would rather go back and face him than run away from him anymore. I'm very glad you're not going to be hanged.
At once there's a flash of lightning. The room becomes bright,
There's a storm.
and then brighter,
It's not raining, though. The sun's out.
and brighter. It's a full-on whiteout.
Oh, God. The sun. Has anyone checked the sun? Is it...
Don't be absurd.
He looks out the window.
Oh, God, it's...
A gigantic clap of thunder.
The sun is exploding!
They all scream. The captain jumps into the trunk. The Count jumps into Dembowski's arms. Bale leaps onto the couch. More thunder. The door flings open. It is Nina, soaking wet, hair plastered to her face, and smiling with glee. The thunder stops.
Good afternoon.
How?
I didn't hide. I jumped out of the window. Aunt,
Nina,
I'm not going back to England. I sent a letter to my governess, and she'll help me find work. You can write to my father, but I won't go back. I won't.
I know, and I won't stand in your way. I hope you understand that it won't be easy, and I won't be able to help you very much, but I won't betray you.
Oh,
Nina suddenly throws herself at a startled Matilda. They hug.
Mr. Bale, are you going back to France?
I hate France.
Hmm.
I'm staying in Milan. Will you accept my friendship?
Of course. We can learn about economics together.
Farewell, Captain.
I'm staying too.
You have to go back to France.
I might as well go to Milan as anywhere. I'm quitting the army.
To do what?
Anything. Regardless of anything else, I've learned one thing today, which is that I don't want to sacrifice myself. Not yet.
Bravissimo!
Outside, the rain stops.
Well,
Well, what?
you're still going back to him?
Monsieur Deschamps, there's a romantic notion that some young men have that people can simply, through sheer willpower, just disobey the laws of societies and achieve their desires. And maybe that's true sometimes. But I'd ask you, my friend, how will I better be able to help you all? As a woman on the edge of society, or a person with money and position and the means to help you? Everyone, pack your bags. We might as well travel to Milan together. Unless there's any more loose ends to tie up.
The letter. You haven't read Amadeus' letter.
The Count grabs it and opens it. A pause. The pause continues. It is too much to bear.
What is it?
He's dead.
Who is?
General Dembowski, and he's left you all. But that's not polite to say.
He hands her the letter. Dembowski takes the letter, stands apart, and reads.
Well, thank God for Amadeus.
Amadeus Mozart?
No. Amadeus ex machina.
God, what does any of it mean?
I don't know. Ask her.
I've been thinking about it. I wrote another poem.
Read it.
During the poem, the captain silently goes to Matilda and they speak. After a moment, he nods and leaves her alone.
I saw an angel on a hill watch history flow by. He saw 100,000 men lie dead within his eye. He saw the wars, the panics, plagues, the struggling for power, and then the angel wept to see us suffer from his tower. But then he turned, and then he looked not down at history, but at our future still ahead of all this misery. I questioned him, how should I live? Should I fight or flee? Or are my efforts doomed to join the great catastrophe? But what he saw, and if we come to grace, I could not tell. He would not show his face.
That's melancholy.
Not necessarily.
I know how to cheer you up. Let's have a dance.
Music. Bale and Nina dance, and the captain dances with the count. The light, which has been growing lighter, grows into an almost blinding brilliance. The music, which had been Mozart or something similar, suddenly changes to something more like Beethoven or even something contemporary. Matilda stands to the side. She watches the rest of them. There is a flash of lightning. Matilda is startled. No one else is. Nina notices Matilda and goes to her. She reaches out her hand. Matilda takes it. There is another clap of thunder. End of play.
Mars, you guys are looped in, really looking at what a replacement needs to be from 4 different lenses. One is it needs to be affordable. We need to do as little replacing of people that were supposed to be a part of admissions as possible, and not be dramatically increasing our production costs, because we're going to be out the $2,700 in royalties that we've already paid on admissions that we don't get back. So not a super expensive play. Second lens is making sure that we pick a play that still artistically is a good fit for Forward. We're not going to like compromise our, artistic lens. Third is picking a play that's smart from a COVID point of view, i.e., if it needed to wind up being on Zoom, because this is in January, that it's reasonably well suited to that, at least not worse than admissions would have been, and hopefully better. And frankly, something smaller or less complicated to stage might increase the odds that we can safely do it in person. So that's a lens. And then the fourth lens is the moment that we are in. So we need to be very cognizant of